Welcome, everybody, to Laurentian Valley Council and Committee meeting for Tuesday, May 6th. Laurie, call the order, please. Alan and Jennifer.
Moved by Councillor Wren, seconded by Councillor Gauthier-Keel, that the Council and Committee meeting of May 6, 2025 be called to order at 5:35 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. Laurie, roll call when you're ready.
Okay. Mayor Bennett,
Present?
Councillor Hoogley,
Present.
Reeve Watt,
Present.
Councillor Wren,
Present.
Councillor Gauthier-Keel,
Present.
Councillor Hewitt,
Present.
and Councillor King.
Present.
All members present.
Thank you. Approve the agenda. Keith and Wendy.
Moved by Reeve Watt, seconded by Councillor Hewitt, that the agenda of the Council and Committee meeting of May 6 be approved as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Any disclosure, pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Our delegation tonight is Stephen Bosa, our Inspector of the Upper Ottawa Valley OPP. Steve, welcome to Council.
Thank you for having me. Sorry, I'll just get up the chair.
I had the, I don't know if I want to use the word pleasure in the circumstances, but when the fire on Morrison Street happened a few weeks ago, Chief Tim and myself had numerous conversations with Steve, and I do appreciate the work you did with us. It was very professional and very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And honestly, it was a very collaborative effort to come to a successful resolution of that unfortunate incident. So bear with me. This is my first council presentation to everyone. So if you have any questions, please wait to the end. I'll be as thorough as I can be. Under the newest Community Safety and Policing Act, what I can kind of share is a little bit limited when it comes to councils, but I will do my best to answer whatever questions you have, okay? So I did prepare a slide or a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not going to read everything word for word because everyone can read. So thank you for having me. For the year 2024, 2025, we're going to be still concentrating on our people, our communities, and our work. Bottom line, that's what the OPP is looking for this upcoming year as well. Inspector Neufeld has done a very, very good job of ensuring that we're very involved in our communities. Our investigative excellence is very, very high, ensuring we're investigating crimes, calls for service are dealt with properly, and going forward on a very positive footing. I know that our primary focus is basically our members right now, supporting our members, making sure we have proper staffing, that we're responding to calls for service, and just ensuring that members are supported as well as provided career development opportunities such as like myself right now. So that's acting opportunities, et cetera, within the organization, as well as coursing people up. So providing them the opportunities to get additional knowledge, skills, and abilities to allow them to properly investigate crimes or calls for services that they're involved with. Obviously, the members of the Upper Ottawa Valley Detachment are very, very involved in the community whenever they're able to, through Constable Sean Peaver, through Inspector Neufeld, myself. We'll be at as many community events as we can. I know we're very heavily involved with several different schools within the area, as well as with the MESA program, which I'll touch on quickly a little bit further in the presentation. We're also seeking out a collaboration between the Boys and Girls Club within the area just to get a little bit more involvement, but that's something that's coming in the future. No, that's not. So Sean Peaver is very, very involved in the community, whether it comes to media releases, engaging people when it comes to Crime Stoppers, which he's very, very passionate and very vocal with. And I want to thank basically members of the Crime Stoppers group that have been involved for over 20 plus years. Crime Stoppers is one of the more successful programs in our detachment area, and as a result, like, we've solved a lot of different crimes and tips are constantly flowing in. So it is a very good success story within this detachment area and part of Laurentian Valley too. Now, our work, it's what we do on a daily basis, responding calls for service, going to accidents, and our primary focus is investigative excellence, ensuring that we have a proper staffing and deployment for all the members, or for all our communities, ensuring our investigations and frontline operations are done to the best possible levels, and ensuring that we're making proper decisions and acting according to what our policies and procedures are. We're using data to drive most of our decisions when it comes to allocating resources. Analytics drive a lot of our stuff, as well as using different strategies when it comes to staffing ideas in the future. Again, our work, we're out dealing with many different organizations within our outfit. We have the Community Street Crime Unit, which does a lot of the stuff you see on the screen there when it comes to grows, when it comes to drug-related occurrences, property-related occurrences. We have our mental health crisis workers. Basically, they have an embedded crisis response worker in detachment now, and they're going to calls with officers for people in mental health crisis. With that resource, what that actually does down the line, it actually reduces calls for service. By having officers and a crisis worker attending ahead of time, you often reduce that person's calls later on in the future. So having that program within this attachment area is very, very valuable, and it's the amount of work they're doing on a daily basis is pretty incredible. Now, the billing summary, which is basically what everyone wants to talk to me about. Year over year, there were definitely some changes, and if there's questions about it, I have gone into somewhat of a delve into why and the different changes we have. So violent criminal code offenses have definitely increased in the township. A lot of those are assault related, domestic assault related, which has always been an issue, but over the last couple of years, we've seen a trend upwards in that. We are making sure we're providing every resource available to victims of these offenses. A lot of the stuff also has drug relation to it too. Property crime, luckily they've been down. One of the ones that I kind of flagged was our operational costs associated to it. When I looked at the amount of calls for service increase for it, there's a lot of police assist, police information calls for service that are being dispatched to officers. So people asking for advice on like how to deal with a property dispute or stuff like that. I also looked into neighbor disputes. That was a marked increase that I did see, and it's a select few of properties with repeated calls for service to our members and they're responding to. Statutes and acts, that also covers our mental health calls for service, which is why we're seeing an increase. Mental health is increasing across the board, across the province. We're giving every possible resource to people in crisis, but it is an ongoing issue everywhere, no matter where you are. So, and I know I'm going to have more questions about this in the future, so I'm just going to move on. So, the launch and implementation of the Community Safety Policing Act. So, in April 1st, 2024, the Community Safety and Policing Act came into effect. Basically, this changed how the OPP detachment boards are. They've replaced the old police service boards with OPP detachment boards. Now, I know you do have a counselor as a representative on the OPP detachment board.
That would be Councillor Betty.
Yes, and we've already had a couple conversations, and I'm also under the understanding it's not up and running yet, but I'm more than willing to assist with getting the board back on track. Or not back on track, but helping further get going with that. They are going to be responsible for coming up with strategic plans. They do evaluations on the detached commander. They can have conversations about problems areas, and they are to report back to the council themselves about what's going on, what the results are, and I can share a fair amount of information with them relative to what I can share in this forum. It also established the Inspector General of Policing, which allows monitoring of police services across the board. It gives the Inspector General gives the Inspector General authorities to say if there's a small community not having proper policing, to step in and deal with that. It also changed officers' accountability a little bit, but it's still kind of the same level of if an officer has done misconduct, there are new avenues to make complaints, such as the Law Enforcement Complaints Agency, et cetera. So I think the Community Safety and Policing Act is definitely a step in the right direction, and I'm looking forward to working with your counselor to make sure it's up and running and very, very successful. So the staffing development model. The staffing development model is a tool that we're using to kind of allocate our resources. It's across the board with every detachment. So every detachment that does frontline policing, such as ourselves, Renfrew, kind of makes this our target. So like 40% of officers' time should be allocated to calls for service in general. We want to make sure we're involved in our community, so 5% of the officers' time should be doing community involvement, whether it be going to just drop-ins at schools, going to community events, just being visible within our community, because that is a very common complaint nowadays, especially we don't know who our officers are, and that's something we're working on rectifying. We've had a lot of changeover, and just trying to get involved more in our communities is definitely a priority for myself, as well as the Upper Ottawa Valley Detachment. Proactive patrol should be about 21% of their time, and administrative requirements, which administrative requirements within our organization is very, very high. But we're doing a couple different things to try and mitigate that, such as the use of detachment operational clerks that really help alleviate the officers' paperwork at detachment by doing data entry and stuff for us. So it's been very, very positive. Another new program that's come out in 2024 was the OMAP, or the Offender Management Apprehension Program. This came into effect because of reform. Basically, repeat violent offenders keep making bail violations when they're released out in the public. The OPP has been spearheading this and coming up with essentially a dedicated officer to be reviewing any release conditions and putting an offender on a monitoring system, or like a check-in system, where we'll attend people's residences, ensure that they're complying with their release conditions. So we've been very, very proactive with that, and we have an officer assigned to deal with that within the area. And our communities, just being out there, community engagement's a big factor, or big push for myself. I'm very, very involved in my community in Arnprior and Renfrew, and I'm hoping to get more involved here, just to be out and be visible and just be part of it, because it's something extremely important to me. I know I do have some pictures of stuff that's happened in Pembroke on this, and I apologize, but again, with the overlap between Laurentian Valley, Pembroke, Petawawa, it is one community where you guys share a lot of resources. So I know kids participate with the fishing derby we do. The Golden Helmets were here last year. Like, we're trying to be out there and be more visible, as well as we're doing recruitment drives wherever we're able to, because we're always looking for, if you're interested in policing, we're looking. We're doing a lot of foot patrols with MESA. So we're trying to do 2 proactive patrols per month, and that is dealing with people who have substance abuse issues, mental health issues, and just providing resources and making proactive contact with them. It's been very, very successful, and we have seen a reduction in types of calls for service in certain areas for that. We also now have a dedicated victim specialist within the detachment. So this came as a result of the recommendations from an intimate partner violence incident. Upper Ottawa Valley Detachment is the only detachment in the East Region that has a dedicated victim specialist, and she is reaching out to victims on a daily basis, multiple times a day, working with families to also ensure that they understand the court, not the court process, but to support them through the processes. We also have domestic abuse issues investigators now. We have 3 dedicated at detachments, so domestic violence occurrences are going through it, ensuring that victims are supported, the investigations are done thoroughly. So whatever we can do to support victims of crime, uphold the victim bills of rights, we are doing so. So now I want to open up questions. Or do you have anything else you'd like me to elaborate or expand upon?
Keith, Keith, go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. As being out in the public and meeting a lot of different people, hearing complaints, one of them, and I bring it up respectfully, is speeding. whether it's on our municipal roads, our township roads, or the highway, there's, I guess, a sounding board from a lot of people that the police just aren't out there on the highways anymore. You talked about dedicated time for certain activities. Is there a dedicated time for highway patrol or
No,
speed?
absolutely. That's part of the proactive patrol I was talking about. We actually just did a traffic blitz, and that included all our smaller townships. Officers went out to multiple, I know they were out in Laurentian Valley, Beachburg. We even tried to head out well past Killaloe, and not just be on Highway 17, because I know everyone sees police cars on 17. It's going out to the small communities and being very proactive. We were very successful. I don't know the number of provincial offenses tickets that we laid during that time period off the top of my head, but we are trying to work not just within this detachment, but within the detachment cluster, or the detachments and neighbors. So Renfrew's come up and helped us. We've gone down to help Renfrew. Ottawa detachments actually sent a couple of cruisers up too, and the highway safety team has come up and done some proactive traffic enforcement. I know people often say they don't see police out doing traffic stops, stuff like that, but we are doing traffic to the best of our abilities. And if there are concerns of specific areas, please let me know, and I can have directed patrols in those areas or elsewhere. So more than happy to listen to any or field any kind of criticisms or areas of concern that we can improve on.
So bottom line, there's no dedicated hours less than have been in the past?
No, there's definitely no less hours than have been in the past. It's all, officers are expected to go out and be proactive when they have free time to do so. And whenever we have traffic campaigns or other stuff, we will be out doing it, in addition to the normal expectation that, hey, drive around and enforce provincial traffic, or even just engagement with the public, because it's not just about enforcement, it's about education. It's about the interaction, and we can curb behavior based on a conversation.
Thank you.
I know that it was, we used to be able to contact Steph and just say, Steph, can you concentrate on driving the road this month? Or
Yeah.
he always said, do that. Could we do that with you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I encourage it, because
Okay.
if I don't know about it, I can't fix it, or I
Okay.
can't work on making it safer for everyone.
Okay, Al?
So just on the traffic enforcement in this area, are we up to date with the new computers in the car that can read license plates? And
Yep.
so driving down the road, they can tell you if there's, so we're fully equipped in this area with
Yeah.
that?
So every one of our OPP police vehicles frontline police vehicles are equipped with in-car cameras that do have automatic plate recognition systems. So as you're driving around, what happens is there's a camera right beside the mirror, and it's reading every single license plate that you're passing. And as you pass it and say the driver's suspended, if there's no insurance, well, insurance is a little bit different, but if the driver's prohibited, it'll pop, or the vehicle's stolen, it pops up as a hit on this computer system. Officers have to verify the plate, but it is on every one of our cars. That's in addition to the body-worn cameras officers are also wearing. So yeah, no, the in-car cameras and the ALPRs are equipped in every one of ours.
Thank you.
I guess, I don't want to put you on the spot, but maybe I will a little bit. I know it's your first presentation.
Push away.
You know, as you know, all municipalities went through late last year, the increase in
Yep.
costs. We all got financially helped out a bit, and a lot of municipalities have put money aside not knowing what's going to happen next year. Have you heard anything on the inside? And if you haven't, that's fine, but I just
No,
wondering.
honestly, I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
I can see what I can find out for you, though, and I'll get
Okay.
back to you, if that's okay, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Brian?
So speeding was mentioned. Another thing that I see on the rise is vehicle noise, deliberate vehicle noise. So
Yes.
we get a lot of complaints on the skidoo trails, but on the road itself, it seems to be really on an upward curve. And is there any enforcement for that to try and change that trend? Because it's...
No, absolutely. I know Upper Ottawa Valley Detachment has previously done blitzes when it came to modified muffler systems, is what the issue is. I know it's not limited to this area as well. It seems to be more popular to have your vehicle with a modified muffler so it sounds more sporty. If that is a concern here, that's something I can definitely work with the staff sergeants on implementing another maybe traffic blitz or the next syndicate blitz that we do, concentrating on modified or unnecessary noises within the area.
So just on that, I know one of the last ones that they did, it was announced in the media a week before they were going to do it. And I know a number of people that just parked their vehicles for that week that it was going to be done and then drove them after the blitz was over again. So if they could just do it and not make it public, tell the public after the fact, would be way better.
You know what, that's something I can probably influence.
Okay, any other questions? I guess another comment or maybe a question as well is, I'm sure you're aware that Redford County has permitted off-road motorcycles on the Algonquin Trail this year,
Okay.
which is going along with the partner K&P Trail. Do you foresee any issues with that, or, because again, we have people walking and side-by-side and four-wheelers, and now we have all types of bikes are going to be on that trail?
If it's been allowed, it depends on how responsible people are operating those on the trails.
Do we have much patrol from the OPP?
We do
On
our
the
best
trail?
to be out there and do patrol, as well as, we have basically a snowmobile all-terrain vessel team, a SAVE team.
Yes.
And we do request them come up whenever they can. Even if I don't have operators working, I do encourage members to, even at trailheads, stop. Ride programs are encouraged, and officers do what they can. If we're not out there every day, but yeah, well, no, we do enforcement on there. And it's not uncommon to hear concerns about the KMP trail and other trails like that within the area.
I know that on the snow machines, I've ran into the SAFE team. Didn't get charged, of course, but ran into them. They're side by side.
Yeah.
And I know staff would let me know when they had been up on the weekend or whatever weekend they
Okay.
were up, and say, you know, they're not, he didn't tell me what the charges were, but said that they were up on the Saturday or whatever. And
Yep.
if you can let me know, just because
Absolutely.
then I can pass it on to council, and taxpayers are asking, well, the OPP are never up here. Well, the SAFE team was just here.
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely.
that's good information to know.
Yep, and if
And it's through Betty as well.
Okay, absolutely, yeah, no, not a problem, and whatever we can do, if you want information from me, just contact me. I'm easy
Yep.
to get a hold of, and I'm more than willing to share information.
Okay. Anything else for council? Keith?
Just one point further on the trails. We have one area, Burns Drive, that seems to have, I guess, attracted a number of bandits on the trail. The county, they have a bylaw enforcement officer that does some patrols, but they can't be everywhere, and they go from Pembroke right down through to Calabogie onto the K&P Trail. So I know, I guess 2 weeks ago, there was a spot check, and there was some actual charges laid by the OPP. And I guess on our behalf, it'd be better if there was a few more of those charges for the bandits that are out there. So
Okay,
just passing that on. Thank you.
not a problem.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming, Steve, and
Thank you for
appreciate
having
your report and your information, and look forward to seeing you again.
Definitely, we'll be in communication, and never hesitate to reach out, and, all good. Thank you very much,
Okay.
everyone, for your time.
All right, safe drive home.
Thank you.
He's getting ready. I gotta go talk to him.
No. Big boy. Okay. Okay, public meeting on the Planning Act, we got a motion to open up the public planning meeting. Alan and Keith.
Moved by Councillor Wren, seconded by Reeve Watt, that the Council of the Township of Laurentian Valley, pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act, hereby declare a public meeting open at 6 p.m. to discuss zoning bylaw amendment file number Z 2025-02, Schuneman, B110-24.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, Laurie, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, so we have one application before us for tonight, and it's file number Z 2025-02. Notice was given in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act as a combined notice of the application and of the public meeting. It's noted we did send out a correcting notice related to acres and hectares, so I'm reading from the correcting notice that just clarified that typographical. So again, the public meeting held here tonight is in accordance with Section 34 of the Planning Act, and the purpose and the effect of the amendment is as follows: that it's to rezone an approximately 4.8 acre, 1.8 hectare proposed lot addition so that the subject lands will be in the same zone as the commercial lands being added to, known municipally as 1495 Pembroke Street West. The rezoning is required in order to satisfy a condition of consent for County of Renfrew consent application file number B110/24. So the effect of the amendment is to rezone a portion of the subject lands, being the lot addition, from rural to highway commercial. The lands affected by the amendment abut Pembroke Street West, County Road 51, and are within Part Lot 39, Concession B, in the geographic Township of Alice in the Township of Laurentian Valley. Again, copies of the proposed amendment and material provided under Section 34-10.1 of the Planning Act and additional information are all available at the Township office for inspection upon request or attendance at the office, and questions would be directed to the Planning Department. Again, any person here is able to provide comments or questions in support of or opposition to the application, and they can make that either verbally here tonight or in writing prior to council making a decision. Again, there are more limited avenues for appeal, but those who do still have the rights for appeal do need to make their comments known prior to council making a decision. And again, it is a public meeting, so any comments, including names, addresses, and other information provided, do form part of the public record and are made available to those requesting. And the notices were issued initially on the 16th day of April 2025 with the following correcting notice on the 23rd, just to clarify the acres versus hectares. Again, as far as the circulation goes, we did not receive any written comments prior to this public meeting. And I believe our deputy clerk will also now confirm whether there's anybody online.
There's no one online, no.
Okay.
Okay, any questions for council? Seeing none, any questions from the audience? Seeing none, we have a motion. Betty and Brian.
Moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Hughley, that the Planning and Emergency Services Committee supports the approval of application for consent file number Z 2025-02 and recommends that council approves application for zoning bylaw amendment file number Z 2025-02, Schuneman, and forwards bylaw 2025-05019 as presented to the bylaw portion of the regular council meeting of May 20th, 2025 for enactment.
All in favor? Carried. A motion to adjourn the public meeting. Betty and Jennifer.
Moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Gauthier-Keel, that the Council of the Township of Laurentian Valley hereby declare the public meeting of May 6, 2025 be adjourned at 6:04 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. We'll move on to information. We have a letter from Mafra. Laurie, you want to comment on it?
Certainly. So this is just, again, more information from the province with relation to the provincial planning statement, and we will be moving towards the requirement for the agricultural systems approach. So this is WIOMAFA, who is the lead ministry there. Again, this will be led in our area by the upper tier, so it will be from the county down. So as the county updates the official plan, these will be, the policies and the direction that we will be following with this system, and we'll be required to provide some information in support of that.
Alan?
So Lori, is this going to restrict some development moving forward? Is it going to basically expand prime agricultural property to a bigger footprint than what it was before? Or is it a little different than that?
So it is a little bit different than that, but it's not to say that we do already know from when the county plan was updated that there is a little bit of a change in terms of some of those agricultural areas that may be coming forward when we do update with our official plan. But what the agricultural system approach is it also looks beyond just the prime agricultural land, and it looks at trying to ensure that you have the whole network somewhat protected in that or allowed for, and that can include, things like if you might be growing the product, but you need to, somewhere to process it, or, if it's with meat, if there's, somewhere where you're able to butcher it, like it's the whole broader connection, so that it could include urban and rural, and just showing that it is a whole systems approach, not just in isolation. And so there will be a whole process to come with that there will be inputs in as it evolves.
So is there a process where if somebody owns a piece of property that's going to be now included in that? Would they be notified that their property is now going to be included, and whereas before it might be rural marginal and they may have some plan on what they were going to do with their property that's non-agricultural?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different than that as well too, but there will be public processes, but these are the first ones expanding out of the Greater Golden Horseshoe, so we're all on a learning, journey with this, and some of it will be also about, cataloging what we have and showing like where that is, even if it's as part of that, on that other side of the economic development part of it, that, do we have what we need to support, and what do we need to look to encourage as part of the system as well too, maybe the other piece of that. But certainly there'll be more information to come, and again, they're kind of expanding some of the guidance documents for us, and there will be things moving forward that would also engage with our community development officer as well too, to help to provide, that information support. As again, it will be led down by the county, so we kind of do have to wait for how their direction is going to come down from that too.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it from the other side, from the landowner, okay, that now all of a sudden something has changed on his piece of property that maybe he wasn't aware of, and now it restricts what he may be able to do down the road. That's kind of my concern, the other side of it.
Well, anything that's going to come into place through official plan or zoning would still follow that same process, though, at that end of it, if we're having to update the official plan. So it would be part of, property owners to engage in those processes. Again, I do, note that, again, some of this agricultural system approach is all a beginning of a learning journey, even for us. So I'll be bringing more information as I learn more myself as well. But certainly it still remains that public ability be part of that process and exercise their rights.
Okay, thanks, Lori. Subcommittee report, Pembroke Canary Airport.
So our budget is there. If anybody has any questions on the budget, we're requesting a 5% increase again in the levy, and it's not a 5% increase in our budget, but that actually comes down to is actually a 1% increase in our budget. Just over 1% is what the increase is. So we're still not catching up to inflation, but we're managing to raise enough income on our own to keep our heads above water. So,
Brian.
Speaking about raising income, my question is the hangar rentals and warehouse rentals are flatline as far as the amount goes. Doesn't seem to be indexed or increasing at all.
So right now, the largest hangar rental that we have is with the Department of National Defense, and it expires, I believe it's this October. So we're in the process right now of renegotiating that So we're not sure what the number is, so that's why it's just flatlined right now.
Okay, so
And
it's,
they're the largest part of that. Any of the others are on I think it's 3% increase per year.
I was going to say normally there'd be some sort of indexing, and it just seems unusual that it's not.
So that's mainly what it is, because the 95% of it is Department of National Defense, and we're in the process of negotiating that lease right now.
Okay, so they're just exercising an extension and at this point? Okay.
Any other questions on the airport budget? I have a motion. Alan and Jennifer?
Moved by Councillor Brand, seconded by Councillor Goche-Keel, that the Corporate Services and Protection Committee recommends Council approve the 2025 Pembroke and Area Airport Commission budget as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Laurie Emergency Management Program Committee?
Yes, just so everybody's aware again, it is EP Week once again, and this year's theme is Plan for Every Season. We do have some information popping up on our social media and on the website in support of EP Week, and there are display tables set up at the township office, and there's information that people are able to pick up and take away. And again, we do encourage everybody once again to make sure that they do have their own 72-hour emergency kits prepared, and to take the opportunity to go online as well and create their own household emergency plan, including pets and also, seniors or neighbors in your area that may be vulnerable, to reach out and make that connection as well, to take that time. And then also just another, save the date reminder. We are having more things put in place for our May 31st community Fire Smart Wildland Fire Community Day. So we'll have some more details coming very, very shortly on that. But just again, that save the date, that'll be during the day at Shady Nook. Okay, and then I guess just sort of following that, just give a quick verbal update as well too. I did look at related to our ongoing Ottawa River water levels. So the posting for today hasn't changed from yesterday in terms of the projected water level. So at this point, it's still very close to what we've seen. Might be a little bobbles up, but in line with what they've given as those projections. And I think we've already kind of touched that in the Pembroke section. And what they're looking to do is to try to manage that the levels stay as they are, as it keeps coming down through the system. Again, there's a little bit of rain today, but that was more projected around the central area and not up in the north, where the north we're just truly dealing with, again, from the warmer weekends, the melt that's coming down. So, fingers crossed, but it looks like it's they're managing it at the levels that they've projected, and there'll be a few more days at that. But we'll have another update again tomorrow morning, where the Ottawa River Regulation Planning Board will give us, again, their take on their next round of projections. So hopefully we keep doing that. And again, thank everybody for their assistance to this point.
Thanks, Laurie. I know I was out a couple of times last week and this week, and I was out with Reeve Watt on Sunday morning, just driving around Sullivan Point, Forest Park Road areas, and it seemed to be under control at that point. We certainly haven't got a lot of calls for support. I do thank council to responding to my call last Friday for, we put together, 525 sandbags, council did with staff on Friday morning. Bit of a hoot, and Brian did a heck of a job up top. Certainly, it just shows dedication by council that showed up, that could show up. So I thank you for that. Laurie, one other comment, I don't know if it's going to come back or at one point, but once again, we get some flooding. We're close to 2017. We had major in 2019, 2023. It's happening, and I know we've had this conversation, but it didn't happen as often as it's happening now. And I'm just wondering if there's any, I know I've talked to Councillor Wren on it, if there's any flavor from council to send a motion out at the next meeting, whatever, asking for how these levels are managed again. And people are certainly I did see a lot of work that's been done from residents in low-lying areas in the flooding area in the last number of years, but there's still a lot of people that can't afford it or are on the edge, and they have a lot of sleepless nights and support and whatever, but man, oh man, it just seems like it just doesn't stop, and it's happening way more often than it used to, so I'm just looking for council's comments. Alan?
So I would agree with the mayor, and like something in the system seems to be broken, and I know the last time that we had the big meeting, I guess it was at the Best Western, and all parties were there and involved and told us everything that they had done in order to mitigate the flooding. And I think one of the biggest things that came out of that meeting for residents and people in the area was that, yes, you did everything that you should have done, but a lot of it was done at the wrong time. And I'm not sure if that's the part of the wheel that's broken, but there's definitely something that's broken that all of a sudden since 2017, every second year we're getting this type of flooding.
Keith?
Thank you. In support of your comment, I would almost suggest a letter and ask for a presentation to council as to explain the process of managing the water levels. That way, people online viewing would also get the benefit of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So maybe we can direct staff to bring something back when we can at the next meeting or the meeting after that to form some type of resolution to put out there. Council's okay with that? Okay. Thanks, Larry. Where are we next? Okay, Brett, please, building department.
All right, good evening. It's been a while since I've been to a council meeting. I know I've spoken to quite a few of you in and about and different things. Obviously, anytime you want updates, just reach out and I will keep things going, but I figured it was a good time to just kind of touch base where we are, how the year's looking, general consensus from contractors and other townships. Things are slowing down. Work is finally starting to wean back to pre-COVID, whether it's a multitude of reasons, back-to-back elections, interest rates, threats of tariffs, building materials. So I didn't know what to expect. January, February, March were really slow. The last 3 weeks have exploded, so we're kind of actually on par with where we were last year now. Like even since I wrote this last Thursday, we've issued 6 permits and reviewed probably 8 more. So it's they're coming in. I will say the trend seems to be a lot of the smaller stuff, decks, garages, sheds. Part of that could trend back to COVID when they couldn't find contractors to do the small jobs. Everyone was booked for the year and into the next year. Now they're approaching some of these jobs, so we're seeing them come through. But like I say, if the breakdowns there year over year, we're pretty close. The biggest drop I've noticed so far, which is odd considering how wet the spring was, is I had no septic permit applications until Friday. Typically we get a few in the spring. Groundwater affects beds, everything else happens, but for whatever reason this year they're either not coming in yet or the trouble areas have actually been repaired. So like I say, it's not necessarily a bad thing. In addition to that, there was an email come in that just ties into the flooding, so I thought I would share it. A resident who raised their home last year after the 23 flooding wanted to thank council for approving the general bylaw to allow them to raise without individual zoning bylaw amendments. This year, she is dry so far. Her sump pumps are kicking on and off, but they're not running steady. And she was one resident that was flooded 3 years. So it's, like I say, she appreciates how we helped make it happen. I mean, obviously there were expenses and other people that kind of helped there too, but not having to go through a zoning bylaw amendment to raise it really did make a difference for her, and I think some others too. So I know we're always being asked if we can do more, but I think it's just an example. I mean, we have tried to do some stuff that's within our control, and obviously if they can afford it financially, some have taken advantage of it. So other than that, the department itself is busy. We have been making some pretty good changes with Cloud Permit. Lots of interest from there, from other municipalities, and even Cloud Permit themselves. They've been hearing through the peer support group and stuff, positive feedback on our township setup. So I was actually interviewed by their marketing director for an article that will be in the OBOA journal, as well as on their website and a couple others. So it's, I did include a draft. Obviously it's not finalized yet and the pictures haven't been added, but if anyone's interested, that should be coming out in June. So I can certainly provide a copy to see, but it sounds like good press. I've also done a presentation with the CBOs from Whitewater, Horton, and Admaston. As you may know, the 2024 is a brand new building code, which began April 1st for any plans that hadn't been started previously. Quite a few changes. So we had 28 different contractors show up because a lot of us do interact with the same. We had a short presentation, kind of some of the stuff that we're going to be looking for that's new to point out to them so that hopefully we don't have issues in the future where we have to explain where things changed. And it seemed to go over well. Bylaw, spring, things have picked up, but we are active on it. There are a couple repeat offenders where we've looped in MLES now just for a little more support, because the repeat ones are more time consuming, and it just, to give the proper service, we felt we needed a little bit more support to really stay on top of them, especially spring and summer when the building's happening, the municipal drainage is happening. We have a repair upcoming next week on Shady Nook. Bylaws picked up, and it's important, so we need to address it. But it's challenging sometimes to properly follow up. So hopefully that will help out. And then other than that, I had a report that I attached from Cloud Permit basically on how we used it, and some of the different tracking and stuff that I found kind of interesting. I always felt like I was busy, but now I kind of know. It was basically the same each year for 2023 and 2024. Issued 195 permits both years. 687 inspections one year and 637 the next. Like, it's pretty steady and interesting to see kind of the breakdowns of it. But what I really liked that they gave me is the breakdown on how long it took to issue a permit. So, like I mentioned in the report, the numbers are a little bit skewed because it's not how long it took me to review it, it's how long it took to actually issue the permit. We have made some changes with our setup where there's now a pause button. So as soon as I'm done the review, I can hit the pause and it doesn't count any more days. So if it takes them 3 weeks to come in and pay it, it doesn't hurt our numbers. But even just using the same criteria they did, we shaved almost 5 days per permit off of our issuance time. So I think that's a huge indication that cloud permit is working, partially in link with the online payment, but it's definitely, you know, seeing those numbers, I wouldn't have thought it meant that much of a difference, but it actually has. So, yeah, I think that was pretty much gets you back up to date. I'm not sure if anyone has questions or anything on it, but
Maybe just a comment first, Brett. I think that was a great idea to bring all the contractors together and inform them of all the changes. I think that's a wonderful
Yeah.
idea, and it's a good job. It's great to see you putting us on the map in the magazine, and I think your department is doing a great job, so I thank you for that.
yeah, I hope the feedback is good. I mean, we definitely are being noticed in a positive light. People want to build here. I'm really curious to see some subdivisions get going, and then, I mean, I think that's really going to help, you know, get some more contractors going, or maybe even some new ones in, and see how the experience is. But I'm certainly hearing more good than bad, so let's keep it that way.
Wonderful. Betty?
You're talking about repeat offenders. I don't care who they are, but what kind of offenses are you talking about as repeat offenders?
Mainly property standards. Garbage is the big one. Yards are, there's a few that every year we approach about torn up garbage bags, just bulk items like mattresses thrown outside. That's the biggest one. We've had some minor, like parking. You know, they're parking on their grass, not in their driveway. It seems to happen every spring, same house. A few more issues kind of tied into it, but it's the biggest one's garbage. It always comes up, especially in the spring. The snow's melted, the yards are wet. People are cleaning the house, and you know, right or wrong, it gets away from them, and it just sits where we don't want it to sit. So.
Okay, anything else for Brett? Wendy?
Not a question, just a comment. I personally like the cloud permit. I like the visual of being able to see the numbers, and you're actually busier than I even expected that you were. But it's good data to have.
When they put that together for me, it really did kind of blow me away even. I had no idea 700 inspections, like that's a lot. So,
Yeah, it sure is.
You know, but it's nice to see. It has helped me be organized, and like I said, in some of the recaps, even the reporting, just having it streamlined now that I've got MCAP, all the adjusters are on as viewers, so they don't have to leave the office as often. They can see what stage I'm at in my permits. They can see my pictures to get an idea of the quality of finishing. So it's it's worked out really well, I think. Yeah.
Brian?
I think you're giving a lot of the credit to the program, but I think it also means that you're settling into the job and you're getting better at it as well, and that would account for a lot of the difference as well. So congratulations on that, because there is a learning curve and you're there.
There definitely is, and I knew it was going to happen. I mean, Klaus did a fantastic job with the amount of hats he wore and everything, and I knew that I was going to have to stay on top of things to manage everything, and so far it seems like we have, so that's good.
Right on. Well, thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks.
Chris? No, Sean. Which one is it? Sean. Yes.
It's not Chris. We don't trust Chris with that portfolio. No, I'm just kidding. Quick one. So we changed our donation policy in 2024 to ensure that we were compliant with issuing tax receipts. Part of that new process would be that the treasurer would bring a report summarizing the year that was in terms of the donations received. So this is what this is. So we received, since we did that change in the report, we received $1,500 in donations where the donor, so I think it's 3 different donors, where they indicated on the form they fill out that the airport was important to them. And then so as staff's recommendation that the township would donate those funds received to the airport for Project Runway. But what's important to note is that you don't have to, but staff, that's the whole point of this, is that to ensure you're compliant, council has the authority to either just accept as general donations and keep those in the general revenue. But why we put on the form what's important to those people is so that we would present that to council to say, basically, this is important and staff feel that these should be transferred over, and to ensure compliance that we're not just a flow through, it's up to council's discretion to actually follow through with that or not. So I'll leave it with that for discussion or questions.
There's no motion for that?
I think you would need approval. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Keith, go ahead.
I definitely suggest that we recommend the money go to the airport, following the wishes of the donors.
Oh. Okay. So you make the motion, Keith?
Yes.
And Jennifer, you want to second that, right?
Yes, I am.
Moved by Reeve Watt, seconded by Councillor Gauthier Keel, that the Corporate Services and Protection Committee recommends council approve the disbursement of 2024 donations received.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, community living flying flag. Lori?
Good evening. So we have received a request, and the letter was attached with the package from the community, the Upper Ottawa Valley Community Living, to fly their flag event, which is done through the month of May. And as in the past, and in compliance with the policy, the GEN 02 flag protocol policy, that information must be brought to council for approval, and that the flag would appear on the community flagpole, which is the one outside with the county flag flying on it, so it would be below the county flag for the month of May if it's approved.
Motion, Brian? Second by Wendy?
Moved by Councillor Hughley, seconded by Councillor Hewitt, that the Township of Laurentian Valley Corporate Services and Protection Committee recommend to council to support the Upper Ottawa Community our flag event, and approve the flying of the community living flag on the Township of Laurentian Valley Community Flag Pole for the remainder of the month, May 2025.
All in favor? And I think we're doing a photo with them tomorrow morning?
Yes,
11
tomorrow at
o'clock.
11, yeah.
Okay.
And carried.
Carried. All in favor, sorry, carried. Okay, dedicated gas tax. Oh, sorry, Wendy had a question.
Just have a quick question about this. I'm just wondering, because we're already a week into the month, would it be reasonable to ask them in moving forward to bring the request before the month starts, just so we could do it the full month?
We actually got it just last month, like late in the month, so we didn't have a council meeting till today. So that's why I brought today. But we can mention it to them. Yeah. Okay. Okay, dedicated gas tax.
Okay, again, so we received the letter from the Ministry of Transportation to the City of Pembroke, where this is the Pembroke, LV Pembroke Handy Bus, where we donate the dedicated gas tax funds back to the City of Pembroke for that public transportation. So again, it was brought forward to, like we have done in previous years, to approve that. And the copy of the letter is attached, and we would require a bylaw as well that would go to the City of Pembroke.
Questions, comments, motions? Brian, you have a question?
Yeah, my question just is with regards to the city of Pembroke talking about having another transportation system. How do we determine, or have we any way of determining where this money will go? Will it go to the handy bus to keep that going, or will it be divided between the two of them? Or going forward, what's going to happen with the gas tax? Does it just go to the city and they decide?
So there is a proposal that staff is bringing to the city council tonight on their new transit system. And Dean and I did meet with Angela and CAO this morning just to get some information on it. And part of that package of introducing transit is that in future years, the money dedicated to handy bus will continue to be handed, and any extra money of the gas tax would then go to the transit system to reduce their budget. So that's the understanding I have right now, but it's not written out in full yet.
So how will the handy bus make up shortfalls with increased costs then if there's no increased funding coming to them?
Well, if there is an increased funding, then there's a percentage that the handy bus will get for sure, is what the city has said. And then if there's any extra, then it'll go towards the transit city budget that the city has. It's still new. The report's only going to the city tonight, so we're not really even going to discuss it tonight, the information I got, because I just assume the city come out and discuss it at their council first before we discuss it. Alan?
So, and I'm agreeing with Brian, and that was exactly my question as well. But I think when we make this motion, the motion should state that this money is to go to the handy bus, not just to the city of Pembroke's transit. And we should have the authority, because the money is coming to us, so we should be able to earmark where that is going. And then that eliminates any question that any of our money for the gas tax from Laurentian Valley is to go to the handy bus.
Certainly we can do that. They would just change their numbers. Dean?
Yeah, maybe just a quick comment.
Do you have your mic on, Dean? Forget already, eh?
At this morning's meeting, it was strictly stated that the money that we get for the gas tax will go straight to the handy bus. And what, as the mayor stated, the money that the city has from the gas tax at this point will also go to the handy bus. If there's an increase on the gas tax on the city side, the difference would then go to their transit system. Nothing to do with us. It was specifically stated in the report. It's pretty black and white that handy bus money will go to, and the handy bus knows how much we give, so I'm sure they would be coming to us and saying your money's not all coming to us, so.
So at this point, it doesn't really make any difference to me what the city are saying or what they're doing. I'm talking about money that's flowing through Laurentian Valley and flowing to the city of Pembroke. I would like to see it on the motion that the money is to go to the Pembroke handy bus. Just so that we're comfortable that's where it is. They're telling us that that's where it is. That's good. They're a different municipality, a different organization, have nothing to do with us. I think we need to earmark that money when we send it with a motion that this is what the money is for.
Maybe, Lauren, I'll refer, because I didn't look at it, but does the bylaw state that it goes to the handy bus?
No, I looked for it in there.
It's not in there? Okay.
It just says it goes to the Pembroke Transit.
Yeah.
It says it's the
Which
Pembroke,
Okay.
so it says the Public Transportation Program.
Yeah.
This is where
Okay.
it's referred to.
So maybe the point here is to amend the motion just to state that it's strictly to the handy bus at this point. And then we can look at the bylaw before it comes back next meeting to see if we change that.
Oh, Wendy?
I would like to echo and thank you, Councillor Wren, for that, because that was going to be my recommendation as well. I think it needs to be in writing, because it does flow through us, and that's the only transit system that we have is the handy bus, so I want all of our money to go directly to the handy bus.
Okay, so we've got a motion. Wendy and Alan?
Moved by Councillor Hewitt, seconded by Councillor Wren, that the Corporate Services and Protection Committee recommends to Council to commit the Township of Laurentian Valley's portion of the dedicated gas tax funds for public transportation program, namely the LV Pembroke Handy Bus, to the City of Pembroke, and that the bylaw 2025-05021 be forwarded to the bylaw portion of the regular council meeting of May 20th, 2025 for enactment.
All in favor? Carried. Sean, 2024 year-end dollars.
Okay, so this is the wrap up. I believe the The auditors would be here potentially at the next meeting, and if not, the meeting after that, where they'll present the financial statements. So this is the main crux of this, two parts. Okay, thank you. The main crux is to approve the transfers to and from reserves, because those technically have to be all approved by council. And then it's to update you on what I think is the important way to describe your surplus deficit, because when the auditors are going to come, they're going to talk about a surplus deficit from a different accounting lens, and it may not really make a whole lot of practical sense, because it's not how we develop our budget. So this is to kind of wrap up the year and transfers to and from reserves, and then also show you your year-end surplus or deficit. I won't go through all of these line for line, but basically the working capital reserve, there'd be a drawdown from that reserve throughout the year of $23,715. A lot of it was, there was financing for the LV PEM Master Transportation Plan, so expenses that were incurred in 2024 for that project. That was a carryover project from 23 into 24. There was a small drawdown to finance some culvert, like a culvert condition review. There was purchase of radar speed signs, which came out of this reserve. There was some IT upgrades, as we can see that we're looking at it right now. This beautiful IT upgrade that was spearheaded by the CAO. That was a carryover from 2021, I must say. So anyway, it's done. So the financing from the reserve came from there. So the estimated ending working capital reserve balance is about $434,000. The health and safety reserve, we put just a small amount into that reserve, and that was, I believe that, I wasn't able to confirm with Lori, but I believe that was part of a rebate for the Working Excellence Program. So that reserve has an ending balance of $23,606, and that the majority of that is allocated to programs in 2025. Fixed assets, we drew down about $83,000, and that is to finance some of the work that was done on Loxley Road. The remainder of the job that was done on Loxley Road, you'll see further down, coming from the CCBF Reserve Fund, which is formal gas tax. So at the ending reserve balance there is about $305,000. The sewer system reserve, we drew down from here $106,000. We had Hamilton Street Pumping Station. Water pays back about $12,000 every year. I think this was payment 7 of 10 for debt repayment from 10 years ago, I guess. That should say 10, not 120. Then we had pump refurbishments, and we also fund about $72,000 from that reserve on what was the last payment of the sewage plant debenture, and I don't know exactly what that was from, but that was from years ago. So that debenture's off the books. And then we had a small surplus of $17,236, so that went into the reserve. In any event, the sewer system going into 2025 has $1.1 million. Landfill capital, this we contributed just under $65,000. This is the surplus from the fee that's charged on the like the waste collection fee that's charged on the tax bill, because we were in a surplus in this instance due to our contract with Miller's, the way that we had budgeted, and we know now that has changed a little bit heading into 2025, but we were in a surplus there, and as per the reserve policy, that's got to go to the landfill capital reserve. So there's about just shy of $480,000 in that reserve at year end. Fire services, we are drawing down $60,000. In our budget, we did have approved to go into reserve 10, but we're financing $17,000 for fire bunker gear that was approved in the 2024 budget, and financing $53,000 for the update to the fire radio system, which was a carryover project that was approved in 2023. The ending reserve balance there is about $80,000. The CIP reserve, this had, we took out 4,500, 4,539. That was how much we spent on the CIP program in 2024. So basically, it's whatever we spent or we had budgeted to spend was coming to be funded from reserve. So there's 30,000 left in that reserve. I will note that when that program if that gets revamped and gets moving again, the council will have to decide if they wanted to add to the taxation levy to start putting into that reserve to get it to grow again, because what we've done the last couple of years to kind of stabilize the reserve is not had any tax dollars. So that's now, when I started, I think it was at 45 or close to 50. It's now down to 30. At some point in time, when you want to continue that program, tax dollars are going to have to go to that. So just letting you know there. Recreation, we put in 42,000. This is a bit of a conglomerate of things happen here. So the council approved putting 1% of the previous year levy into the reserve to pay or to go towards our contribution to the Kinsman Pool project. So that was the 62,740. But what has come out of that reserve is 11,675. That was for Stafford Park Hydro Service project. That was approved in 2023. We had some LV skating trail site works that was approved in 2024 to come from that reserve, and then we had 5,400 for the Shady Nook site works that was also approved in 2024. So the ending reserve balance there is just shy of 50. So we need to continue to put probably 1% of the previous year. We don't know what that payment's going to be for Kinsman Pool, and that was the point of why the council and staff decided, or staff recommended and council approved putting 1% there. But we're just going to have to, that's right now snapshot of what you have in the reserve. Recreation reserve is 50,000, and that's going to have to continue to build to pay off the Kinsman Pool, at least there, and then build again for whatever other projects come. Water system, they're going to have about 615,000 left at the end of the year. There was a net drawdown of just under 40,000. There's water replacement of valves and meters that was approved in the 2023 budget, and that was important for the agreement between the water agreement with the city of Pembroke, that some of these meters got upgraded. There was a drawdown of 8,000 also for water valves. And then there was a small deficit of 6,700 in water in 2025 or 2024. Election, 8,800 added, so that has about 26,400. But we have an election expert, and wondering if he learned any efficiencies with the federal government, that maybe that can be drawn down. Vehicle and equipment, there's a net financing of about 143,000. Council approved to put 20,000 into the reserve, and then we have some net proceeds of sale of a couple. I think there's 2 vehicles there, about 12 grand. We're pulling out just under 100 for the purchase of the 1 ton with dump body that was approved in 2022 and got delivered in 2024, and then we have financing of just under 75 for the purchase of a 3/4 ton pickup that was also approved in 2023 but got delivered in 2024. So you can see the ins and outs there. So we're ending with just under 380,000. We're almost through. Levy stabilization. We did approve, if you recall, during the 2024 budget deliberations, that the gravel was we were seeing a big spike in gravel. So we had council approved to pull 100,000 from that reserve to offset the increase in gravel. So that is what that is doing. So in that reserve, there'll be about 164,000. Capital reinvestment, there's net contribution of 64,521. So we put in 661,000 basically. That was approved in the 2024 budget. And then we were financing out, we pulled 100,000 for our portion of Sawmill Road project. And then we also pulled just shy of 500 for the rehabilitation of Beeline Road. And the ending reserve balance there is about 64,000. The OSIF reserve fund, so the net contributions are 17,000, and this is really the interest that's earned. So we put in $17,069. That's interest earned on the money that's in that bank account. The government gave us 447,604, and we turned around and spent the 447,604 on Loxley Road. So the ending OSIF reserve balance is just shy of 61,000. Development charges, I did bring a report, I believe, one of the last meetings, on what happened with the development charge reserve fund, but we put in $46,000. The ending reserve balance there is $231,384. CCBF, which is the new term for gas tax. Again, we end up pulling 18,000 out of this reserve. Or sorry, that should be the other way around. It should be we put in 18,000. That's the interest, I believe. I believe we mixed up on this one here, but we got 301 from the government, and we pulled out 216.6 for part of the Beeline Road project. And then we also pulled out 122,000 for Bryan and Gore. So the ending balance there is just about 92,000. Welch has looked at these reserve balances and and our surplus deficit, and they've so far have confirmed, and I believe that those are confirmed, and you'll hear a little bit about those in the next meeting. So the financial performance of the organization is just under $100,000 surplus when you factor everything in. So 23,105 was general, so that went into the working capital reserve. 64,947 was for the waste collection, so that went into the landfill capital reserve, which I believe is earmarked for post-closure costs. There's a small deficit of $6,800 in water, and then we had a $17,236 surplus in wastewater. So for the 2025 beginning balance of the reserve and reserve funds is about $4,290,104, and I believe there's about $60,000 of projects that are committed to from previous, like 2024 and previous, that need to be funded from that balance. And then I've updated the schedule of reserve and reserve funds, which is there to see. And then I just also included kind of a line by line of the year and a dashboard that summarizes it in some pictures. But if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Well, I think you went a little fast, and since it's one of your last reports, maybe you should do it again.
I think maybe I'll defer to Dean to follow up for me.
Any questions for Sean? We got a motion, please. Brian and Keith? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Seeing it's one of Sean's last times here, and having gone through all this, do you have any things that we should be keeping a close eye on in the future, or things we need to pay attention to, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think the recreation is going to be challenging, I think, because, there's, I forget what's in there now, 50,000 or whatever, but that's going to have to continuously be built on. And then when that committee comes back, the recreation committee, with maybe what the long-term plan is, the reserve probably isn't going to be where it needs to be at that point in time. But I think during those budget deliberations to not make that one the one that is where you maybe don't contribute to. But I think other than that, I think the reserve balances are fairly healthy. I think the reality is you probably don't have enough money to do what you want to do, which is basically like everybody else. But that's why, applying for grants, and I know Chris and Mark and Lori have worked hard on making sure that keep applying for grants and then continue on. And I think that from a financial perspective, though, I think it's in a fairly healthy, the township's in a healthy position. Well, if you want to speak to the fire, we can, but I don't want to answer the questions for them.
Any other comments or questions? Can I get a motion? Brian and Keith.
Moved by Councillor Hughley, seconded by Reeve Watt, that the Corporate Services and Protection Committee recommends Council approve the 2024 reserve transfers as outlined by the Treasurer.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, report, strong mayors, powers. Lori?
Yeah, so with the new legislation that's come into effect, actually May 1st, 2025, There are some changes that, that the ministry has brought forward, and I believe you had received some information. Sean, the treasurer, had sent out some information, some links from the ministry on that. And this report basically recaps a lot of what was said there. I know that I know there was a lot of advocacy against where municipalities have are not in favor of it and have put resolutions forward or have written letters to the minister. But as it is in effect, we are one of the 169 municipalities. It's in the Act. But there's more information that we can learn from, and I think the main thing is we'll have to seek some township solicitor advice as well as to how we go about those changes and learn from the bigger municipalities that have had this in place already, where they've, maybe changed some process. So there might be some policies that change, some bylaws might need to change. So it's going to be a learning curve going through the process as well. And then just the information that I've put in here was the letter from the ministry announcing it, and then some information that I gathered from an AMCTO webinar that I watched that had to do with that. So there's if there's any questions.
Alan?
So I'm against this. I don't think that this municipality actually needs it. And what really scares me about this is not from a municipality like ours. We're well managed and the council has always been good. It only takes one election, okay, to ruin a municipality. And if that happens and you have a mayor with this type of powers, it's really scary. And I wouldn't want to be sitting on a council that has a rogue mayor that has this type of power. So I'm totally against it. I think we need to write a letter to the ministry and tell them that we're not in favor of it, and I hope there's other people that will back me on this. But this really scares me. Like a lot of things that Doug Ford has done, this is one of the ones that I don't like.
So maybe I'll just make a comment, because I have spoken to the Robert Flack's office of Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and finally got a hold of him today, and it's not yet something that you can accept or reject. The suggestion was that our municipality get together, and I've talked to Sean about it briefly as well, get together with other municipalities. There is some training that is available for staff on the rules of the mayor's powers. He did inform me today that it's not just the mayor that can make a decision. It's got to be 1/3 of council, which in our case would be 3 of 7 that would have to be in favor of any motion that the mayor brought forward. But this is just for information purposes. Laurie will continue to look into it with other municipalities, and I'm sure we'll come back with the same feeling that Alan has spoke of.
But even so, if you're changing it from 50% plus 1 down now to 1/3. Now 1/3 of a council is controlling the entire municipality. It should be a majority, which is 50 plus 1.
Yep.
Why we're changing it to 1 or even 1/3 is the part that I don't like. You're giving too much power to too small of a group.
Wendy, go ahead.
I completely agree with Councillor Wren. I feel like it's not even a democratic process. I just feel like, what's the point of having council in some ways if it can be just, you're saying it's not just yourself, it's a third. I didn't understand that. I thought it was just yourself. But still, it's not a proper process. And by adding 169 more heads of council, that's almost half of the province. And I think it can be very scary. I find it very alarming, and I think that we need to have our written say to say that we don't approve of it. I know it might not do anything, but I just think we have to be verbally out there, and I think it's an awful process.
I think everybody that has spoken towards it agrees, as well as myself, that we don't want it, but we need to do it properly so it does come into effect, or doesn't come into effect ever. So I'd like to recommend that it goes back to Laurie and staff with other municipalities, and I'm sure they'll come up with a common theme. Keith?
Just one other comment is that I know that this was created to support the province with their housing and infrastructure changes for the housing. But even saying that, that's for larger southern municipalities as far as I'm concerned, and not Laurentian Valley.
Okay. Al?
And just to add on to that, like Keith says, some municipalities that have 20 to 30 or 40 people sitting around a council table, I understand that it's hard to get things done, and you have to do some of those things for housing and certain things. But all of a sudden, to start expanding the power, this is just step number 3 in it, and where does it go from here? At some point, I think we have to let the province know our displeasure, and I'm saying I would like our municipality to send a letter back to tell them that we're not interested.
Okay, so they told me today that that has no effect yet. So we can still send it if you want today.
If we
but we're
say,
still gonna-
if we say nothing,
No.
so then we agree. So I think we need to say something. And I don't think we should sit on our hands and say, well, we'll just wait, for 6 months down the road, but then it's been in for 6 months. I think right now we need to say something. If somebody opens my eyes to show me how it is better and how it's going to work in the future, I'll be the first one to recant. But I think at this point, we need to say that we're not interested.
Okay, so that's what we're suggesting, our staff go back and do a report back either later this month or next month. But if you want to pass a motion tonight, or prepare a resolution for the next council meeting, in case we're not up to date on all the information, then we can do that.
I would like to do that.
Okay. Councilors, Wendy? I'll second that. Okay, well, it's just direction. Okay? Okay.
But I guess there's only 2 of us so far.
Oh, I just said, is everybody okay with it, so? Okay, Chief? Sorry, Sheldon, we're getting there.
Hello.
I don't know.
No, not right now, I hope not.
Hello, Chief Tim.
How's it going? Good, thank you. I just came from the Fire Chiefs Convention in Toronto last week. Actually, Mark, the deputy, and I went down, and it was good, actually. It's a good thing. It's not only the seminars that you go to, but the people you meet and find out how they're doing things as compared to what you're doing, and it was well done, actually. The big thing still is gear and cancer. There's no, and they're like, of course, this funding we're getting, and we're going to get more this year and more next year. It's all about gear, and everything's being pushed that way because the cancer thing is statistics they're not going away. And the other thing is the fatalities. The fatalities in Ontario have gone up since before COVID, and they're getting worse every year with fire fatalities. And the Fire Marshal John Pegg was talking about it, but it's we've got to find a new strategy on some of this, and of course some of it's what the way some of society's, the way we're living today. Some of us. Anyway, it was quite good. It was worth our time anyway. So.
Okay. Any questions for Tim? Keith?
There's 2 things that I just want to mention. Item number 42, or call number 42, Morrison Street. You're showing from 26 to 500 hours. Mm-hmm. In terms of cost to the municipality, do we have an estimate of what that's going to do, or is there compensation for some of that?
Okay, there's no compensation for the hour cost, okay? We're working on conversations. There's a lot of other costs with that fire that, because we have a bylaw that states that we can, anything we do above the fire department, we can go back on the insurance. And I don't know how deep I can get into this in this open forum, but we are in for a few bucks on that fire, okay? A lot of bucks.
We'll
And we,
find out
and
down
we saved a lot, but we still are in for a lot. I've got the bills, I just about got all the bills together, and we'll show you where all the money went, but, yeah, because it,
I
yeah.
think Tim and staff are still trying to work out the details.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we'll leave it at that for now.
So my second question is, item number 46, the fire where they were burning sage in the bedroom. Can we lay actual charges for
No.
attending that? Like,
No.
where in the book does it say you should do that?
Well, because the smoke alarm went off, okay? The smoke alarm goes off, we have to go, okay? We can't, and we don't know what they're doing until we get there, okay? And, it's, I'm sorry, it's hard to answer this question, okay? In this open forum, okay? Because if you want me to stick around to the close, I'll answer that question, especially concerning that
No.
thing a little better.
I think you know where I'm coming from, like it.
Yeah, I totally understand. I totally understand.
It's education, 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 but
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, but I don't know. Used to be a saying I used to say, I can't remember it offhand. I'm not gonna. It's not really the thing to say, but some people you can't teach. Okay, I mean, there's nothing that, the problem is under the FPPA Act, if the smoke alarm goes off, the fire department has to show up, okay? I cannot say, well, I know he's just smoking in the bedroom again, or he's, it's like the ones where, and part of it is with the way the system works, because a lot of these alarms, you see, they go directly in, which we've put in to save people, okay, so that they go directly to a call center, and the call center directly calls us, because that's the way the system works. That's the way it's supposed to work. So it's not like if it's at home and you burn the toast on your oven and your smoke alarm goes off, you can just go and wave it away and it goes away. When they go into a call center, the call center automatically puts out the 911 call, and there's no control on what we're going for, okay? Because I think if you look back on the last month, it was a similar thing with somebody burnt the toast on the oven, okay? And, yeah, it's...
No, I understand it. I guess it's more of a little rant than anything else. So.
Jennifer.
It bothers me too.
So I realize that it's a department building. So you have two calls. You have one at the end of March and you have one at the beginning of April.
Mhm.
Is there so many calls that you can get that you can finally go to the owner and say?
There's, we have a bylaw that states if we go 3 times, okay, in a year for false alarm, we can charge you, okay? The problem is, there's nothing that states that we go to the same place more than 3 times, like, for instance, and there's, because of a probable cause, that we can't charge them, no.
I'm not sure.
Okay, anything else for Tim? That's it. Thanks, Tim.
Okay.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Animal control report is there. You can certainly, any comments for Laurie to take down, or are we good with that? I know there's a vicious dog on April, but I don't think we have any information on that yet.
Just the report says that it was, just a second here. No charges were laid and the problem was resolved.
Okay. That's it for that. Warming center. The final report is in there, is closed. Sorry, it's not closed, but the new HEART program is going to be taking that over. My understanding is from the last meeting that it'll be open year-round and funded through there, and they've got 3 years funding, so they will continue what they're doing now. I don't know, have all the details, but I assume that it'll be the same operation as it is now. So there won't be any further contributions from the municipalities, and they have 3 years funding to do that. I did hear some good news stories that with the staff, the MESA program that was in there, there's certainly some individuals have been helped. And I think if you get one person off the street and into a hotel, to an apartment, to a job, the money's worth it, right? So certainly there are some good news stories, and I'm sure there was bad news stories too, but they certainly gave us some of them, and there's lots of information in the report. If anybody has any questions, we can send them through Laurie, and we'll get them to the county for answers. I thank Jennifer for sitting on that committee as well, but as far as I know, it's done. Keith?
Will they redo the budget showing to reflect our donation?
Yeah, once they receive the check.
I missed the question.
Councillor Keith asked if they're going to redo the budget showing Laurentian Valley's contributions, and I said once they get the check.
Yeah, once they get the check, it's in the mail.
So that was kind of we'll call it a misunderstanding, but I believe it has been sent, so we can request a final budget. I know that it's a balanced budget. Thanks for bringing that up, Keith. It was a balanced budget, but there were some costs in there for other expenses that they thrown in there for the time being. So those expenses will be backed out, and our contribution will make it a balanced budget again. So there you go. Anything else for that? If not, Festival Hall?
We've got a meeting next Tuesday.
Okay. Pembroke Public Library.
There was not a meeting last month as our CAO was out of country. So we'll be meeting this month, and then I'll have an update next month.
Okay. Down to Ottawa Valley Waste Recovery Center, I really don't have anything to report. I know the bulky item is coming up soon. And also leaf and yard waste has started. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add, Mark, regarding recycling or garbage? No?
No, I think that's our two key. I know we're something to note and remind residents are we are still we're in the transition process of the Blue Box program going to the province. So there shouldn't be a lot of change or notice in the change of collection, but Miller sometimes is using 2 collection vehicles instead of 1. So I know we've had some calls from residents saying my recycling got picked up, my garbage is missed, or vice versa, and it's just that a second truck is coming because they're collecting single stream as we're going through the transition. So just a reminder to residents that that everything is still getting picked up, but we're in a bit of a transition, and things will be fully changed over by January 1st next year. So.
Okay. Jennifer?
I don't get one of those little calendar things. I'm sure I could Google it, but does anybody know when Green Bin starts every week?
June 1st.
June 1st, okay.
There are calendars out there on the counter. Okay, down to Community Development Officer report. That would be Chris. Welcome, Chris.
Good evening. Another busy month in community development. I'm not going to go through everything, but I'm just going to pick out some key highlights here. We had some 2 actually grand openings in the month of April. One was Battlefield Rentals, which had a great community barbecue and lots of equipment, in which I personally tested a mini excavator, which was pretty fun. And Topper's Pizza, with their beautiful location overlooking the Otter River on April 15th. So both events were very well attended, and we look forward to welcoming those new businesses into our community. Speaking of businesses, Business View Magazine. On the 17th, I had the pleasure of being interviewed with our mayor for Business View Magazine about the many exciting things happening in the Township of Laurentian Valley. The interview went extremely well, and we look forward to the issue being released in June or July. Trade shows. So right off the bat with our first 2 trade shows, they were the same day. So I really thank the members of council who went out and set up at the Petawawa Expo. I was in Ottawa with the town of Petawawa as well at the Ottawa Adventure and Travel Trade Show. It was a really incredible experience. I met hundreds of people. It was really interesting to see, the common pitch. Have you ever heard of Laurentian Valley? A lot of people had driven through and didn't know that we were right off the highway, so close. They've been visiting certain areas, certain places. I heard about the skating trail. I heard about this or whatever. But we gave away hundreds of rack cards. Was able to sign up 200 people to our newsletter. And I'm really excited to see the impact that that's going to have. I think I pretty much, from the start of the show to the end of the show, was talking to a human being every second that I was there. So I think I gave as much return on investment as humanly possible that I could for the township. And I think we're going to see a lot more people coming to this area, and hopefully that trickle down. Well, some families will come and spread the word about Laurentian Valley because we have so much to offer, as everyone knows. And this was a really great way to get out and reach out to the other areas that will hopefully come in and tour our area and stay in Laurentian Valley and maybe even consider living here someday. So it was a really great experience. I want to thank council for supporting that, and thank you to the council members who helped out with the Petawawa Expo as well. So I have 2 items here in terms of sponsorships. One of them we're going to get to tonight. The other one we're just for information. We'll bring it as a report back. The Pembroke Multicultural Festival. So as everyone knows, it's July 18th and 19th, and we've traditionally sponsored this event. But this year, the sponsorship did change. After our budget was passed, we originally typically budget $1,000, with $500 going towards swag, and so for a total investment of $1,500 plus staff time to attend the event. So typically we do the visionary sponsorship, but this year it is now $2,000. So unfortunately, we did not budget for this, and so we could go with $1,000 option. The issue is that if we do the $1,000 option, we essentially won't get a booth at the festival, which I feel that was a big impact for council to be able to do that. And so we'll have to circle back at the end of the report, but I essentially will need some sort of direction on how to proceed with that, because it is above and beyond what we had budgeted for that year. On a similar note, Ottawa Valley Busker Fest, formerly the Downtown Pembroke Busker Fest, has reached out to us again for their event on August 22nd and 23rd. This is just for information. I will be bringing in a full report, but I wanted them all to be together because, as you'll see from the next thing I'm going to be bringing up, we are getting a lot of these sponsorships, and it's important to note that we only have limited funds, and we are working on a process to basically have a policy for that. But in this instant right now, there are several options that have been proposed that were attached in your package, and they range anywhere from, I believe, $500 to up to $10,000. Yeah, I don't know why that did that. I apologize. That's the one for the Multicultural Festival. The next one is for the Busker Fest. And so a report will be coming to council next meeting for a decision on that. But essentially, this is also something we didn't budget for that will have to come from somewhere. And the reason why that is all in context is because of the next thing I'm going to bring up, which is our community sponsorship policy. So we're currently in the process of developing a community sponsorship policy. It's scheduled to be coming out June 3rd for council's review. I've listed how I imagine this going with 2 intakes. And so what we'll be looking at right now is earlobing some of those funds for the second intake. And basically the idea with this policy is to give the opportunity, instead of doing what we're doing right now, which is essentially sponsorship coming in, they're coming into council, we're having to make these tough decisions inside the chambers, is that there be some sort of policy that would allow everyone to come at the same time. And so that we're seeing all the different things that might be available in our community. And we can also make a direction about how we as Laurentian Valley want to be sponsoring things and what our values and goals are for that sponsorship money. And so that's going to be coming at next meeting. But it is important to contextualize that because obviously these things are before the policy is created, and that will be having to be taken into account. And that's my report.
Thank you. So we're not going to make a decision on those two tonight?
So the one we do have to make a decision on for the Multicultural Festival because they have extended the deadline for us to make a decision tonight. The other one is, I will bring that as a report for next meeting.
Okay. What does council feel? Last year's 1,000 that got us a booth, plus the 500 swag.
Yeah.
This year, it doubled in price, and we don't know why.
Yeah, there's no reason why they increased the prices across the board, it seems like. And without the booth component, that was essentially, in my opinion, the piece that, gave us the value out of that, kind of a return on investment, because then we're able to essentially talk to the community, get people to try to sign up for our newsletter. Last year we had the Plinko game that was super popular. And so that's kind of our way to, in my opinion, to get the return on investment. But without that option, we would have to go up to $2,000.
Brian?
I guess in the past, we've asked for a budget on what the money's used for, and we haven't got any of that. And when we were doing our budgeting, the library was part of it, and, we should have seen these figures at that point to work it into the budget, especially when they're increasing it to that, doubling it. That's a big jump.
Dean?
I guess the one thing I think maybe Chris just,
Are you,
visionary one.
we need a mic,
That's
Dean.
all right, I'm sure they can just, a visionary is only 5 of them, is there not? Only 5?
Yeah, there's a limited amount of visionary sponsorships. I believe you're correct at 5, but let me confirm for you. 5, yeah.
So that's the difference. Before it was kind of unlimited at 1,000, now they've limited it to 5 for booths. I don't know why they only want 5, but.
Keith?
Does Petawawa contribute to the Multicultural Festival?
I don't have that information in front of me right now. I don't remember them at Wendy, you were there last year. I don't remember seeing them there, but I couldn't say. I'd have to double check.
I don't believe they were, but I was told that they are this year.
Okay.
But I don't know that for a fact.
Al?
I know we've brought this up in the past, and I don't know if we've ever got an answer to it, but we do put on a lot of community festivals and that, and it was said, are we asking the city of Pembroke to sponsor any of ours? And I'm not sure if that's ever happened or if they're sponsoring anything back into Laurentian Valley. We seem to get bombarded by different things that are going on in the city of Pembroke, but there's no reciprocal. There's nothing ever back from the city of Pembroke where they're sponsoring anything in Laurentian Valley.
Wendy?
I know I sit on the Public Library Board, but this is separate. I do feel it's very late in the game to be asking for almost double, so I don't know if I could support the $2,000.
Keith?
Just clarification on that. It started off the multicultural parade from the library itself, and as it started to pick up, then the city took over, and it is administered by the library. So,
has the city really taken over, or is the multicultural committee taken?
It's the Multicultural Committee. The city is a part of the organization and sponsoring it. They sponsor it, but the city is not running it.
Right.
It really is run by the CEO of the library.
I kind of struggle with the 100% increase with no explanation. But I see your point, Chris. Why go if you don't have a booth? I don't know. It's up to council.
I feel we either have to do the 2,000 or just not do it. Because if we can't have a booth, then what are we really sponsoring?
Okay, so just to interject with what you would be getting for the $1,000 sponsorship, essentially you're getting your logo on event attire, which t-shirts, formal acknowledgement, listing in festival program, social media, website promotion, logo on sponsorship board, and acknowledgement in multicultural edition e-newsletter. And there's 10 spots for that available. The other one, the visionary, is opportunity to introduce one of the performers on stage, booth at live event, logo on t-shirt, formal acknowledgement of sponsor during live event, listing at festival program, social media and website promotion, logo on sponsorship board at live event, and acknowledgement in multicultural edition e-newsletter.
Okay, Betty, sorry.
Is there any way that can we use that $1,000 that we'd set aside to support something multicultural in our own community at one of the events that we like, Fall Flavors? Still support multiculturalism, but because I don't see we're getting any value out of the $1,000 the other way. I can't support that either.
Chris, or Keith, go ahead.
When we had a booth last year, did we have staff or did you man it?
So we had a mix of staff. I had to run out, I think, for a little bit, but we had Wendy there, Betty there, we had our summer student. So there's definitely calculable hours in that as well, and then it depends on the availability. Usually, like these events, if I am available, I do them. So it's hard to calculate exactly how much that would cost, but typically we always have the summer student there, and so that is for sure also in addition to the swag and the sponsorship as well.
So feedback from those who were there and the number of people who actually stopped at the booth. Any feedback, comments on that? Was it worth the time and effort?
I don't know if I could give a full scope of it because I was only there for a couple of hours. I can say in the time that I was there, I don't know if we really got a lot of traction from it. Personally, that's my opinion.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, taking it from what I just went to, where you have hundreds and hundreds of people coming past you at all times, it is a numbers thing for that kind of return on investment, and then signing up for the newsletter. To me, that's where we really get our money's worth, because that's a connection to a family, a household, to be able to reach out to them directly into their inbox about what's going on in Laurentian Valley.
I'd really like to see the booth if it's worthwhile, but as Dean, you said that the opportunities changed in the sponsorship from last year, right?
Yeah, and I guess just to kind of, there is another one, I mean, the $500 one, it just has a leader, and I mean, there's plenty of opportunities there. I mean, we're acknowledging some support. I mean, again, that's another option too. I mean, there is three different levels, well, there's 4 levels, I guess, but, yeah, so they've created these 4 levels, and whatever, at least this way we're acknowledging the multicultural festival. I mean, we're not getting a booth, but it's $1,500 less.
Betty?
I'm kind of leaning that way too. Do we have a number of how many signups we had from the festival for the newsletter last year? Did we keep a tally of numbers?
I'd have to go back, but it would have maybe been like 30, I think. That was a hard one because you're not getting that constant traffic, and you're not essentially creating a bottleneck. Like, people can go all around you, all everywhere. Like, taking the example from the trade show, you have a bottleneck where people are coming into where you are, and you're forcing that conversation, and you're getting that traction. A lot of times people just, at the Multicultural Festival, just stopping, grabbing maybe what you have on the table. And it's tough because, those people may already know about Laurentian Valley. They may already be residents. So, but I would say from my memory, I'd say 30 maybe signups to our newsletter for that whole day.
So from something like the geocaching, or your great idea with the glasses for the eclipse, which everybody talked about at the booth when I was at the trade show on the weekend. Again, I think if we did at least get our name out there as a sponsor, the $500, as Dean had mentioned, and then maybe take that money and see if there's some other way that we can promote multiculturalism at something that we're hosting for ourselves. with the swag and whatnot, I think would probably go much farther than putting the booth up again.
So the 1,000 is in the budget already, right?
Yes.
Okay, one other comment I'll make, and then we got to make a decision that if we were to go with the 500 to acknowledge Laurentian Valley as part of it, I know the Busker Fest obviously acknowledged our comments because they've changed it from Pembroke Busker Fest to Ottawa Valley. Maybe since there's no money budgeted there at all this year for Busker Fest, maybe that $1,000 can go towards them.
Yeah.
As a suggestion, and we're involved in both, and the reason why I say that is they obviously did large numbers last year, and we also got a booth.
And I will add too, this new policy is going to allow a much greater option for these discussions to happen and review things. And we're going to, part of it is requesting a budget, part of it is going to be, so there'll be a lot more data to go off of. And so maybe that is a good jumping point to do this year to get through. And then when the new policy comes in, we'll have greater scope in making these decisions. And this is proof in case of why that policy is going to be really valuable.
Okay, so council's wishes. Pardon me?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yep. Sorry. An 8x8 activation
Okay.
area connecting to a side street.
Okay, yep. I could support what the mayor just suggested.
I'd second that.
So, no, I think we'll get it done so both know what's going on, the two committees, so to make a motion that $500 goes to multicultural and $1,000 goes towards Busker Fest. Pardon me?
We only have 1,000.
No, but I think the minimum sponsorship for Busker Fest is 1,000.
No, we
No,
thought
I
you-
realize that, but we could have been at that. Go ahead.
So we still want to do the library, or the multicultural? We're doing both? I think council's confused on that one. We thought we were just going to do Busker Fest for the 1,000.
I think I suggested 500 for, yeah, and 1,000. 500 for, so we get our name on there, and 1,000 for Busker Fest. So we're 500 over above our total budget of 1,000 for
We're
just
still good because that,
multicultural,
I'll
but-
just reallocate the money I was going to use for the swag for that event
Yep.
into Multicultural Festival. The other one will be straight up from the same item line, just different name, and then we'll be on budget.
Okay. Shall makes a motion, Jennifer seconds it.
Moved by Councillor Wren, seconded by Councillor Goche-Keel, that the Community Development, Recreation, and Culture Committee recommends that council agree to sponsor the 2025 Multicultural Festival at the cost of $500, and further that $1,000 sponsor to the Busker Fest event.
All in favor? Carried. Okay. That's it for you, Chris?
That's it for me, yeah.
Okay. I don't think Nevada's here tonight, right?
If there are any questions, I am here to answer or whatever, but, so I'll stick on, but if there's no questions, then.
I don't have any from Nevada. Anybody? No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Friends of the Disabled?
I've got just a couple of updates. Let me get my glasses on here. So in April, we continue to see an increase in the use of the handy bus, which is great. I don't have the breakdown tonight of what's Laurentian Valley and what's the city, but I'll give you the total trips for April. It was 93 wheelchairs and 703 ambulatory. And so that's for a total of almost 800. So that's an increase of about 126 over this same time period last year. And for the first 4 months of the year, it's an increase of over 300 trips compared to this time last year.
Wow.
So we're seeing a huge increase, and I do know, I don't have the numbers, but I do know a large increase is actually Laurentian Valley.
So have they had to increase their staff to accommodate these numbers?
Yes, we have increased one of our staff. We have an extra driver now, because we have included Sundays as well. and we may be looking at adding some more. And I also want to highlight a pancake breakfast that was held back in early April from the Pembroke Professional Firefighters Association. They hosted the breakfast, and all the proceeds went to the handy bus. And there was a formal check presentation last week of $2,000 from the pancake breakfast, which was amazing. They served over 300 people, and thank you to our mayor. He brought out almost his whole family, I think, and grandkids and everybody, so that was great. So we were very pleased with that, because that'll make a big impact in the handy bus.
And the pancakes were good?
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Shay Nook?
We had a meeting last night. The hall is being painted, and it should be finished this week, so it'll be fresh and clean looking all throughout. Soccer registration is at near 400 kids registered for soccer, so going strong, and it's been a scheduling nightmare for Laura, but she's accommodating folks, and almost 400 kids, probably a little over 400 kids registered, so.
It's amazing. It's great. Great to see. Thanks, Brian. Alison Fraser?
We're getting ready for ball. They've had a Mitre Ball sign up, so our kids' ball program is off to start. They're going to start after the long weekend, along with mixed ladies and men's ball again this year. We are also starting to, in our early stages for fall flavors. Kind of a disappointing meeting. We're looking for volunteers. We need people to come out and help for fall flavors. So if anybody knows and they want to reach out either through the township website or reaching out one of the people on the committee, Elizabeth Graham or myself, we do need, we're looking for some assistance to help out. But yeah, we're getting that ready and off the ground. So lots to go. We've got a meeting tomorrow night, actually.
Okay, thank you. Forest Lee?
Nothing to report.
Pleasant View?
The only thing we've had is an issue with off-leash dogs, which we've talked to Nevada and Mark, and I think they've addressed that already, so we're going to get some signs up there. But other than that, nothing to report.
Stafford, Jennifer?
We have made a date for the Children's Gardeners, which is July 19th at Stafford Park, and we are hosting, I can't think what it's called.
Emergency, all the emergency, police, fire, and an OPP for the game.
It's like a battle. They did it last year.
It's called Emergency Protective Services United.
Thank you. And we are hosting that at the Fire Hall and Stafford Park as well this year.
That's great. Thank you. Elf Horses and Trail, Mark, go ahead.
So they have a meeting tomorrow night, and we're hopefully the water is finally starting to dry up in the back part of the trail, so hopefully reopen next week for walking and biking if it dries up in time, and our disc golf, once things dry up, we can get that set up and installed, and hopefully going for the summer as well.
Okay. Fit and feisty.
Since the county changed to committee of a whole meetings, I haven't been able to attend every meeting. It's about 1 in every 3 that I do get to attend. But Chris and Nevada are usually there at the meetings and able to answer any questions. And I've also told Wanda that anything, don't be shy, give me a shout to assist if I need it. So.
And they're busy. Lots of events, getting emails every day. What's going on? That's great. They're doing a great job. County Council summary is there from Keith. Anything to add, Keith?
I did send out the media release on the off-road motorcycles being on the trail, and that was simply because the K&P trail did allow it originally, and when they took over that, they amalgamated the two into the one, and to make it fair, they kept the motorcycles in. So we'll see how that's going to go. We had a trails meeting recently, and they have upped the hours now for patrols to, so it was 10 hours a week before, now it's up to 15. And I think you're going to, and there's going to be more emphasis on lane charges, where last year it was more kind of an education to bring it along. So it's a little bit more forceful. The other thing I wanted to mention was that County Road 36, or TV Tower Road, the rehabilitation is going to take place starting probably May 26th and end in early August. So that's just for information. And I would just like to add it onto that, that maybe that's something we could incorporate too, that for certain projects that are going to come up under our Public Works, that through the newsletter or whatever, we could make that information available so that people are aware that of what's happening. Maybe start and end type things.
And as of May 1st, ATVs must have the proper permits for the Algonquin Trail.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. All righty, council acknowledgements. Wendy?
I attended a couple of things, and one highlight for me was a week ago Saturday night, I attended the Germania Club 70th anniversary on behalf of our mayor and council. It was a wonderful evening, and I have to admit, I didn't know a whole lot about the Germania Club and the history of it, so I found that interesting to learn about how the German people came over and started this own club themselves when they settled here. And some of the history that was shared that night was very interesting, so I enjoyed that evening. I also attended the Petawawa Showcase, as Chris mentioned, along with some other council members. And then also this coming Saturday, I will be attending the Pembroke Expo at our booth, and also doing a couple of hours at the Handy Bus booth as well.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? I just have one quick one. Make sure that everybody knows that the Leafs did beat the Senators in the first round, and we are continuing on against Florida, and we're 1-0. So, just want to make. I didn't put the sweater on tonight yet, but just want to let you know. We have a motion going to closed. Jennifer and Brian.
Moved by Councillor Gauthier-Keel and seconded by Councillor Hughley that the council and committee meeting of May 6, 2025 move into closed session at 7:42, chaired by the Mayor Bennett, according to the Ontario Municipal Act 2001, Section 239.2, Section 239.3, and Section 239.3.1, in order to address a matter pertaining to the receiving of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
All in favor? Motion to return to open session. Jennifer Nell.
Moved by Councillor Goche-Keel, seconded by Councillor Wren, that the council and committee meeting of May 6, 2025 move back into open session at 8:05 p.m.
All in favor? Carried. Motion to adjourn. Keith and Wendy.
Moved by Reeve Watts, seconded by Councillor Hewitt, that the council and committee meeting of May 6, 2025 be adjourned at 8:05 p.m.
All in favor? Thank you, everyone, and good night.